Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Cato and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about using pattern paper and I'm going to give you my biggest tip for using pattern paper in your cards later in this video. Now we all have a lot of pattern paper, some have a bigger stash than others, but we're not here to talk about my problems, so let's just get into making this card. I stamped this cupcake stamp from the Hey Cupcake stamp set by Photopolymer Stamps onto watercolor cardstock. This is the Canson Montval 300 GSM watercolor cardstock. I stamped the image in Versafine Onyx black ink and embossed it with Wow Clear Gloss Superfine embossing powder. And I'm coloring it in with my Karin Brushmarkers. These are watercolor markers and they are great for watercolor techniques. And recently I tried them for the first time by just going straight to paper and not using any water with them. And honestly, it didn't work out that great. So I figured I'd give it a second shot. The problem with these markers, or with my paper that I'm using with them, that might be an issue as well, they pill up the paper really easily. And I'm being super careful here, so I didn't have an issue with it. But I know that if I had added another layer or was a little bit quicker or rougher in my coloring, this would have been a major issue again. So these markers do pill up the paper when you're coloring. I don't think there's really a way around it that's foolproof. So that's a drawback for me, but they are great for using with watercolors or with water and use them as watercolors. That's what I meant to say. So I think they're still worth the investment, but you just should know what you're buying. Now, for the pattern paper. I have to say that I chose my pattern paper before this video started recording. I always choose my pattern papers before I start making my card because that is the tip for today. Choose your pattern paper before you start coloring. It is way easier to match your coloring to your pattern paper than doing it the other way around. I think we all know the feeling of rifling through our paper stash to find the perfect paper for a quick background and then coming up with nothing. And then just resorting to stenciling or ink blending or another way to make a quick background. But the pattern paper is always somehow lacking even though we have a ton of it. So choosing it beforehand and basing your coloring on the paper is the biggest tip I can give you, and it's helped me out a ton. Now back to the card. I am stamping the cake stand in Versamark ink onto vellum and embossing that in bright white by Wow. Now I also stamped the base of that cupcake stand, or the cake stand, I'm not sure what it is, onto watercolor cardstock and colored it in, so only the glass part is in vellum and see-through. And to put this card together, it's super simple. I am gluing my pattern paper piece onto my card base, then gluing the pattern paper frame, which I die cut with a die from Pinkfresh Studio. All the supplies I used will be listed in the description box below. And I prop that frame up on some foam tape. And I'm doing the same for my images. I am putting some foam tape behind the cupcake and adhering that first to the cake stand. And then I know where to hide my adhesive behind to adhere the cake stand to the card. I also put some glue on the base of the cake stand and right where the embossing is on the top, so it adheres nicely to that frame. Now, while I adhere everything down and choose my embellishments, I have a second smaller tip for pattern paper. Stick within the same paper pad. These pattern papers are both from the same pad, so the colors always go together. And usually a pad comes with patterns that are bigger or more subtle, like the stripes here, and patterns that are a little bit more out there, like the sprinkles. And that's always a good match. Some subtle patterns like tone-on-tone stripes, and some more colorful patterns or bolder patterns with bigger images and things like that. And a third thing that I love to do to use up my pattern paper is make envelopes out of them. Now this only works with 12 by 12 sheets. I don't think you can make envelopes out of a 6 by 6 sheet, but I have a ton of 12 by 12 paper pads and I love using them for my envelopes. And this color matched my card pretty well, I think. So that's it. I really love how this card came out. It's super colorful. I love the different colored embellishments, which I didn't even mention. They're from Little Things by Lucy, or Little Things from Lucy's Cards. I love that shop. I'll definitely leave a link in the description below. I feel like this video was a little bit all over the place because I had a couple of things to say about the pattern paper, but the video was a little bit too short for it. I hope you still liked it. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. Do you love using pattern paper, or are you a hoarder like I am? And do you never end up using it? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, you can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.